Coach, you just looking at the stats, the one thing that jumps out, which I know we're going to talk about, is Lehigh's ability to run the ball. Just really didn't have too many answers. Third and fourth and short had more answers, but when they got in the open field, off the corner particularly, it was tough, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we came up with a couple of really big stops on those short yardage situations, but on the whole, we knew as a defense, Lehigh was going to come in and try to establish the run. We did everything that we could to try to stop that. Unfortunately, we didn't execute a lot of the defenses that we had called, and they're a good football team. We can't, play the wrong gap and expect to stop a offensive line as talented as that, a running back, really two running backs that are as talented as any in the league right now. They certainly dedicated themselves to run the football, and ultimately that was their number one reason for success on offense.
And yet they aren't one-dimensional. I don't know if I've seen a team that has quick passes like Hayden Johnson did with guys open. Was that something that they were scheming up, or would you have rather seen our defensive backs to be a little closer?
Well, we played it safe. We'd given up so many of those explosive plays last week against VMI. We wanted to make sure that we didn't give up the deep ball, and they obviously have a couple of very good, Jamil's not their only good receiver, but he's probably their best, and they have some very talented players there as well, and Johnson did a good job of getting the ball to them just enough to keep us honest, and again, hats off to them. They played a pretty good football game on offense.
And yet the Bison never gave up. With Ralph Rucker, the fourth back there, he's always going to go 100 miles an hour out there. Didn't get sacked in that first half. Was there something Lehigh did in the second half to be able to get more pressure on Ralph?
No, I think we just got worn down a little bit. Nicholson starting his first game as a true tackle, unfortunately with the injury to Nate Natoli, and that was a challenge all game long. Xavier Allen didn't play his best game, including getting that unfortunate penalty at the end of the first half, which may have cost us points. So it was not our best day of pass protection for Ralph. Ralph did what he always does. He escaped. He was smart and threw the ball away in a couple of instances, but it was a shame. We did have players open down the field, and we just weren't able to consistently get that protection that we hoped. And again, a lot of that had to do with Spatney from Lehigh. Hadn't played a down pretty much all year, and showed up, and man, he was really good. He gave us fits off of the edge. Hoyski, or however you pronounce his name, was played an incredibly good game. I mean, they really, hats off to them. I mean, it was a really good defense that we played here today.
Field position, particularly in that first half, that made a huge difference, didn't it? Because it seemed as if Lehigh was going 45 yards, maybe 55 yards, but Bucknell would have to start its drive at its own 15 or 10-yard line.
Yeah, and that was the number one reason for the score being what it was. Every time we took the field, it was from our own 15-yard line or less. We had to go 80-some yards. We were able to do that against a VMI team a week ago that was giving us those big play opportunities. But they're just too good of a defense to sit there and say, hey, we're going to be able to match them score for score, when every time we took the football, it was on our own 12, 14, 15-yard line, and every time they were getting the football, it was on their own 35, 40, 45. So it's just, it's the math just doesn't add up, unfortunately. And if you're able to make the plays that we did a year ago in terms of forcing 2 fumbles and getting the pick 6 with the interception, you can live with that type of field position. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get a turnover, and that's been really, our Achilles heel on defense for this entire season so far. And we've got to really generate some turnovers here to help us from having to drive the length of the field every time our offense takes the field.
We talked about Ralph, and Rucker, now the all-time career passing leader at Bucknell, was able to hit a couple of different guys on touchdowns. Good to get TJ Cadden for a second straight game in the end zone. Sam Milligan was unable to score a touchdown, but he had over 100 yards. I think it's a third straight game for him. And Josh Gary getting more into the offense. So more of the threats are being shown out there for Ralph, right?
Yeah, and Nate Anderson getting his first touchdown of the season as well. So, we had opportunities out there. And again, I don't want to take anything away away from Lehigh. That was a good football team. They showed why they were preseason favorites and why they're ranked number 10th in the country. And when that happens, you have to be at your best. And we did a lot of good things here today that may have gotten the victory against lesser opponents, but just the way that Lehigh came out and played us for 60 minutes, they showed on today at least they were the better football team.
Before we let you go, saw Nick Hoying out there. Played a number of snaps, actually, and that's his first action since like the first week or two of spring ball. How did Nick play?
Yeah, I think he did great. He jumped in there and he had took some snaps during the week of practice. Actually started out on scout team for us, and which was great. Obviously, we missed Brandon Biagirelli for the first half. He came back the second half. Again, the plays were there, and we made them at times. But when you had too many of those, first and 25s or first and 20s, and particularly if they're running the football and we can't stop them in those critical moments, that's tough. We're going to have to go back to look at the film and to see the mistakes that we made. I think we physically at times got pushed off the football. But like I said, I think there are still a lot of young players that are out there that just aren't quite sure and aren't executing our schemes as well as they could be. And part of that's understandable because we're putting freshmen out there like Schlendorf and guys that got, haven't had a whole lot of snaps so far. And that's kind of the growing pains of having a young defense. But we'll keep at it and redouble our efforts and hopefully show up here a week from now against St. Francis team and show everybody how much we've improved over the course of this week.
And before we let you go, you do have St. Francis next week. It'll be the first time the Red Flash and the Bison have ever met on the football field. You go from Lehigh, one of the most played rivalry games for Bucknell, to a St. Francis team you've never played. Do you know much about the Red Flash?
Yeah, it's crazy that they're 2 hours away and we've never played them, so it seems like it's a natural matchup. Unfortunately, they're going to be making the move down to Division III in a couple of years, so this may be the only opportunity we really get to play them. They've had some good teams in the past. They're struggling a little bit this year, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. They've struggled to put up points, but they've also played some quality opponents, so we don't know an awful lot about them, but we'll get at it here starting tomorrow and get hard at work at developing game plans, and I'm sure they're a good enough football team that if we're not at our best, they could beat us. So we're going to give it our best shot and come back and hopefully, like I said earlier, prove that we're a much better football team in a week than we showed out on the field today.
Coach, thank you very much for your time. We'll see you next week against St. Francis.
All right, thanks.